Hi and welcome to this month's Living and Working Abroad webinar. I hope you enjoy our live experience, and I've got my trusty photographer here who's doing a great job at trying to improve how I look and how we come over to you. So welcome to this month's Living and Working Abroad, where we're talking about a guide to how EU Brexit affects expats' property, pension and business in the coming years. We've got some interesting offer for you at the end of the video, so keep listening. But you can follow this live webinar and ask questions and comments below, and on our Living and Working Abroad page on Facebook. And we'll cover more issues for you and try and answer your questions and help you make sense of what's going on. There's a lot of hot air in the world about Brexit. There's a lot of hot air in the politics and from big business. What we're concerned about is discussing how that affects expats living and working abroad in the EU. There's over 3 million EU expats living in the UK and over 1 million British UK expats living in the EU. How are they going to be affected for their residency rights? What access are they going to have to their property? How is that going to be changed in terms of taxation and medical care and social welfare? And these are the issues that we explore in great detail in our guides and our blogs. What we're going to do is try and summarise in this webinar 5 things that are our key distinctions that have arisen in EU Brexit this month. And the first one is the EU. It's been a big advance in the legal position. The UK have now agreed and passed into law their EU withdrawal bill. That received royal assent 2 days ago on the 26th of June. So now there is a law in place that after the 29th of March 2019, the UK have got a set of laws that adopts all the EU legislation that's currently in law in the UK with the UK legislation and sovereign to the UK government in London. And so the UK can carry on, and the UK can carry on exactly as it's doing today with the existing set of rules in place. And now Brexit will happen. There's nothing to stop it as far as the UK is concerned. The EU, meanwhile, have still got their withdrawal treaty with their issues that they want to resolve. There's still a bit of political hot air coming from Ireland, where they want the border issue settled. We don't hear this with Gibraltar and Spain and in Cyprus, where there's a border between the UK and Europe. And there wasn't an issue in Ireland before the Ireland and the UK joined the EU. It's only now that it's become an issue and a central issue to the EU. Being of Irish descent and holding a dual citizenship with an Irish passport is deeply passionate to that. But I grew up on the border, and I understand that there was no hard border before the EU, and there's no reason for there to be a hard border afterwards. A settlement will be found. What will come on, though, is the bargaining. This is where the interesting position going forward. This weekend, we've got an EU summit going on, which is not discussing Brexit at all. Brexit should be the main topic of conversation, and it's not a relevance at all. We'll look at what the discussions about that are later. But one of the things that the UK have now done is that they've deferred their deadline. As far as the UK are concerned, they're happy not to settle a customs union agreement until January 2019. Now this is very interesting because Brexit under English law is now set to be 29th of March, and that can go ahead without any more changes in the UK. If they leave without a customs union agreement, then they just go to World Trade Organisations, which the EU operate under anyway, and which all countries around the world operate. So the UK can continue to be open for business with people around the world. The only thing that could potentially change is the vested interests for those countries and those big businesses trading within the EU. So the UK, in a way, are calling the bluff, because January 2019 is really, in negotiating terms, is very, very, very much lastminute.com, that they're not allowing themselves any margin for error, and they've adopted a new negotiating position, which is take it or leave it, and sensing perhaps a bit of a weakening in the EU position, which we've summarised as the external pressures that are coming on the EU. The EU summit this weekend is all about migration. It's all about cross-border movement within the EU, which is exactly what expats want to know, that they're going to have the rights to move within the EU. But this is coming under great pressure. Immigration was a point of issue that drove Brexit in the UK, but now migration from Africa through Libya has created big divides between the north and south of Europe and between west and east. Italy, Greece and Malta are not happy about the amount of migrants they're taking disproportionately to the north of Europe, but equally the Sweden and Germanys of this world are not happy with the seepage of these migrants moving and being released from Italy and Greece to make their way to the richer northern European countries. But we've also got a west-east divide where the eastern countries that joined the EU later have got a more of a nationalistic set of leaders, especially in Hungary and Austria, are leading the way for this, a tougher line on migration into the EU from third-party countries, and this has now been taken up in Italy as well. And at the summit this weekend, Angela Merkel has been given an ultimatum, not by the EU, not by any external party, but by members of her own government, to get a deal to stop migrants coming into Germany in the numbers that they're coming in. So the German government could collapse. The leader that was supposedly the most powerful EU leader of the most powerful EU country could now see its government collapse over the migration issue. And what could this mean? Well, it could mean that the Schengen agreement, the open borders agreement in the EU, collapses. And what would happen then? Migration could be the beginning of the end of the Schengen open borders agreement. It could be the beginning of the end of the EU, or they could find a fudge in a different way forward. What is true with Brexit and with migration is that nothing will stay the same, and everything will be the same, and everything will be different. So there will always be change, and there will always be an evolution of a position, and things are going to change. Whether you stay in the EU or stay outside the EU, migration issue is having a big knock-on effect, and there's going to be changes across countries. So for expats, it's vitally important. How is it going to impact on expats? If the open borders treaty disappears, then what it will mean is that every country will will operate its own border policy in terms of people visiting the country to visit their holiday homes, to go on holiday, to use their investment, or to make a business in a foreign country. So the open borders treaty that EU expats and EU citizens are used to could disappear, and could disappear very quickly in the next 6 to 12 months. And it would just be replaced by individual borders on individual countries. And this is a big lesson for EU expats to learn. For EU expats living in the UK have announced very clearly what their policy is on expats who are already living in the UK from the EU by the 29th of March next year, that they can stay, and how they can stay, and how they can progress their applications to get dual citizenship or permanent residency or a passport. And the UK are now well ahead of the EU and making it very clear to any EU citizen who is registered and living and working and in the UK before Brexit, of what they need to do as proof of residency in terms of work, contracts, home life, residency, tenancies, property ownership, business ownership, in order to stay there. It could be that after Brexit, the EU citizens have to have an individual arrangement with every country. If the open borders policy of the EU continues, then you can still make arrangements now that a UK expat can have a free movement between one country and another under the simpler EU rules at the moment. But they may change anyway if the Open Borders Treaty answers. The fact of the matter is that with Brexit, EU expats living in the UK need to make a change, and they need to make a decision on their path before Brexit and be in the UK legally living and working. UK expats need to be registered and living and working in their country in the EU for that to apply for them. And so there's a change coming up. Expats should make that change, take a step forward, contact us, speak to ProAct's Living and Working Abroad team, find out a bit more. Because the other big issue is taxation. Now, for example, there's a big double taxation treaty between Cyprus and the UK that is coming into force at the start of 2019. So for UK expats living and working in Cyprus, or retired in Cyprus, or with a holiday home in Cyprus, there's a whole new tax agreement for 2019, as well as Brexit and the new residency rules. Will you still be able to go on holiday in Cyprus? Yes. Will you still be able to get access to your holiday home? Yes. How will I be able to get a business in a new country? Well, if the EU is not there, then a company doesn't need a customs union. They can simply, the company can start a subsidiary in Estonia, in France, in Spain, in Cyprus, and start a subsidiary company in that country. And as long as your UK company has got a Cyprus company or a Cyprus registered business, then there's no reason why they can't continue to trade there, despite what the EU would say. Yes, there'll be customs, yes, there'll be visas, yes, there'll be cross-border issues, but they're all manageable, because with tax, as well as with medical, as well as with social care, there's individual bilateral treaties between countries that existed before the EU and they'll exist after the EU. And it's for expats to take the initiative now. So if you are investing in business or property, or you're living and working abroad in Cyprus or within the EU, a UK expat should take action to formalise their residency before Brexit and make sure that after Brexit they can live and work abroad and obtain a settled status. Now, the individual countries haven't confirmed what will happen with EU citizens after Brexit, but there are rules in place, and we can assume, if we look at the third country national rules that exist in those countries today, that is what the British citizens will have. So nothing will change on Brexit Day in terms of there's a transition period for the rest of 2019, 2020, but after that, then the new rules will come in place. So again, it's better to look ahead for your business, for your family, for your overseas property, so you can enjoy your holiday, enjoy your lifestyle, enjoy your long breaks, or you're working abroad in Cyprus, and by planning and seeing that the world cannot stay the same, will not stay the same. If North Korea can agree with the USA, then the EU can agree with the UK, and we can find a way forward. In the next month, we'll find Trump and NATO and Russia all making changes to the world order, and UK and EU Brexit will take effect as well. We've created a detailed guide which, with the help of my two able assistants, Zoe and Cassie, for expats on how EU Brexit affects overseas property, business and pensions. It includes details of the new double taxation treaty and how it affects pensions for British people living and working abroad. It includes how to open a company in a foreign country and operate your business. It includes details of what the changes to social welfare, medical care will be, and how what the tax implications will be. So it's quite a comprehensive guide. It gives you a lot of detail into the changes that are coming up, and once you've got hold of a copy, we will be updating it, and you've been enabled to get the updated version as we update it in the coming year. So what we'd like you to do is click on the link on this page. It's on our information site, living and working abroad.club, under the page for EU Brexit for expats. You go along to that page, gives you an introduction, and you can put in your information and you can get hold of your copy of the guide. So we'll send that round. We'll put it on our blogs on our main website, proactpartnership.com. Look for it in the Facebook page. Thank you for the girls for helping me prepare that. Zoe and Cassie, you were magnificent. Thank you for my photographic assistant today. Hope you enjoyed the webinar. And I did mean to make it 15 minutes, it's 20 minutes. And watch for more information and more guides and more updates, and follow us at proactpartnership.com. Thank you very much.